Good morning. We're coming down to the wire for the end of season 2. So today you're going to be treated to two shows because I have two topics that I just must talk about. And the one was planned, but this show, this one right here, came from a follow up from something that happened yesterday. There was this runway model in Miami who walked down the runway breastfeeding her young child. Breast exposed, child latched on. And people thought this was awesome. It was fantastic. Breastfeeding is natural. And of course, you get people who are saying that the reason women have breasts are to feed their children. Well, that's not what my breasts are for. But I will tell you something about my girls. They're real and they're spectacular. And I'm not allowed to expose them anywhere in the United States of America. Maybe there's a few places that allow women to walk around topless in America, but they're few and far between. Because, see, in America, breasts are something to be ashamed of. You have to cover them up. You have to hide them. I did a show in this season about the 17-year-old high school student who had a t-shirt on without a bra. And she was called out in front of her classmates and sent home because her nipples were showing and one immature, stupid-ass punk boy was laughing at her. Okay? This week, my shows have kind of had a theme without meaning to. And they're double standards. The double standards between criticizing a smoker because you care about them and criticizing someone who is overweight because you care about them. One is perfectly fine. The other is a political correct no-no. The same thing goes for breasts for some reason. Apparently, there is this movement where a breastfeeding woman can breastfeed anywhere, anytime, any place. In the middle of a shopping mall, in the middle of a fine dining restaurant, in front of other people's children, and yet, I go back to the Super Bowl with Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson when she had an accident with her costume, and for a half a second, millions of viewers worldwide saw Janet Jackson's nipple. And everybody lost their minds. CBS got fined. The Super Bowl said they would never allow Janet Jackson to perform at the Super Bowl again. Children were watching. They went blind. And yet, a breastfeeding woman can expose her breasts to small children in the Chuck E. Cheese. And for some reason, everybody sings Kumbaya and says how beautiful it is, and the children don't go blind. But if I expose my breasts on a beach or on my own deck down at the bay, I'm going to get arrested. I will get arrested. Children will see it. Oh my God, my children saw Paula Luciano's breasts. And they're pretty nice breasts. And they're real. They're spectacular. But do you see the shirt I'm wearing right now? Do you see this? If I were a 17-year-old high school student, which I haven't been in a very long time, although occasionally I feel like I'm still in high school in certain circles, I would get told to go home and change my clothes because, oh my God, if the air conditioning's running, because they have air conditioning in school now. When I was in school, we just suffered. I'd be told to leave because my headlights might be flashing. I might have my high beams on. Someone stupid and ignorant will make fun of me. Every woman has breasts. It makes us women. It doesn't make us feeders. It doesn't make us a food truck. I have breasts. I've never fed anything, any living thing from these breasts, but I have them. And they're nice. Sometimes they annoy me when I'm trying to sleep and I lay on them the wrong way, or the dog jumps on my, chest and it's like, oh, baby, you just hit the girls. But every woman has them. And just Like, I get so angry when people say the only reason to get married is to have kids. Women don't just have breasts to feed children. It's a nice thing to do. It is. But see, there's this other little thing. It's a modern invention. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called a breast pump. And the reason they make breast pumps is for those times when it's just not appropriate to whip out your breast and latch your kid onto it, okay? You might hate me for saying this, but damn it, I think I have a few good points here. How many of you out there, men or women, who are in the corporate world would like to have your coworker who just had a baby and is off of her maternity leave now and back at work, bring her kid into the boardroom meeting, big boardroom meeting with out-of-town clients, and whip out her breast and start feeding her kid? Would that be appropriate to you? But see, that's why we have breast pumps. She can pump her milk, put it in a bottle, put it in the fridge, and the caregiver of the child can feed the child. The child's still getting mother's milk, all the nutrients that they say is best for the baby. Then they say, well, oh, once you go to the bottle, they won't take the breast anymore. So what? What is the big deal? You know, there are women out there who are shamed for not being able to breastfeed because it is so freaking painful. They can't do it with the kid latched onto them. But they have the milk. What is the problem with pumping the milk? The kid's still getting the milk with all the good nutrients and feeding the child with a bottle. I don't see the problem with that. But then again, just like with smoking and even obesity, some people argue those points. There are studies. There's studies. And there are people who pressure women that you're basically considered a really bad mother, a failure, if you can't breastfeed. And I mean breastfeed. You know, breastfeed. If you put your child on formula, you're a bad mother. Some children just won't take to the breast. They won't take it. Some children have digestive issues that they need a special sort of formula. And yet there are some people, some medical professionals out there that will tell a woman that if their child isn't getting breast milk, there's something wrong with the mother. There's something wrong with you if you don't breastfeed your child. You're poisoning your child when you give them formula. You know what? There are about millions and millions of men and women growing up and healthy that were raised in the infancy of their lives on formula. I'm a formula baby. I'm just great. Thank you very much. Most of my cousins, my generation, were raised on formula. All of a sudden, these new age women who are supposed to have a full-time job, take care of their house, take care of their husband, spread their legs at least twice a week to have sex with their husbands, entertain their husband's business associates, clean the house, do the laundry, do the grocery shopping. And oh, by the way, yeah, you gotta feed the kid from the breast too. Because if you take the formula route, you're poisoning your child, you're a terrible mother. That's a lot of pressure for a woman. Any woman. So yeah, I don't think it's evil incarnate to feed your child from a bottle, whether it's from your breast or from a container of formula. As long as your child's getting fed, that's what counts. And I don't like this double standard. I have a personal story to tell you. A few years back, I was very embarrassed and insulted, actually. I wasn't embarrassed because I didn't do anything wrong. But I was embarrassed. I wore a really nice, sexy top, but I was down at the trailer. I was down at the beach. People walk around in bikinis and bathing suits all the time, right? And I had a shirt on that was maybe like this, okay? About like that. And I walked into someone who knows me very well, And I walked into their house. I was just stopping by to say hi, and she was mortified. She brought me a ribbon and proceeded to pull my shirt up like this and tie it in the back because she had some other friends over at the same time, and she felt I was showing too much of my beautiful breasts in public. That was embarrassing, and it was insulting. My husband, I went home, I said to my husband, you know what she just did? I said, look. He said, why? He said, I love that shirt. You look awesome in that shirt. But she didn't like it. She didn't want her friends seeing me looking, with a little bit of my girls showing. Now, if you look at this right now, I actually, when my bikini is on, a little bit more showing. And there's no problem with that. But for some reason, and maybe there was a little nipple showing too, but again, that is something that I was supposed to be ashamed of. I should have burned that shirt. But if I had brought a baby with me and whipped out my breast and started breastfeeding, oh, that would have been beautiful. It would have been a beautiful sight. The angels would have come down around me and sung. I don't like the double standard. I have no problem with a woman in a restaurant who needs to breastfeed her child getting up and going to the ladies' room and breastfeeding that child. But I don't think that woman, as close as restaurant tables are now, they're pretty crowded in, whipping her breast out and feeding her child when my husband and I, strangers, are sitting real close trying to eat our meal. I don't think that's appropriate. I do want that child fed, though, because the alternative is that child screaming their heads off because they're hungry. That's also annoying in a restaurant. But once again, what is the big deal about going somewhere more private? More private. One of my viewers said to me that when she was at her father's house, she was breastfeeding her young son, his grandson. And he got up and left the room. That is appropriate. That's a good father. He didn't feel comfortable seeing his adult daughter's exposed breast. He wanted he didn't ask her to leave. He got up and left. But in a restaurant, is my husband and I, are we supposed to get up and leave the restaurant because we're uncomfortable with this strange woman exposing her breast in our presence? That would not, and that's not fair to us. When all she has to do is go into the ladies' room. Now, I walk into a ladies' room in a restaurant and there's a woman breastfeeding her child. I have no problem with that. No problem at all. But do I really want to sit in a restaurant eating my lobster tail and my filet mignon that's going to cost me $100? And sit like this close right here is a woman that's breastfeeding her kid? No, I don't want to see that. And I shouldn't have to because there are alternatives. There are other ways to do it. Classier ways to do it. I will never tell anybody that breastfeeding is wrong. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. To me, it's not beautiful. That's me, my personal First Amendment protected right. I would not want a child or basically anything sucking off of my breast, okay? My girls are mine. I don't need anybody else messing with them, including a child. Bottles are just great. I have bottle fed other people's children, and it's beautiful. That's fun. I enjoy giving a bottle to another person's baby. But sucking on the breast, and then sometimes you see like 3- and 4-year-old kids still sucking on the breast. No, I don't. That just isn't me, okay? I don't criticize any other woman that does it. That's your choice. That is your decision. However, I don't feel that the whole world needs to see it, okay? You don't need to be breastfeeding at your job. There are other alternatives which still benefit your child. The breast pump, the bottle. You can still breastfeed, but you don't got to be an exhibitionist about it. Just like when I dare to show just a little bit of cleavage, I'm considered like I'm doing something wrong. Children go blind when they look at my beautiful girls. Give me a break. Look, America has always had a problem with the female body, okay? And the male body. We see in movies all the time, the double standard. They will show full frontal female nudity, 50 Shades of Grey. But we never saw his genitals. We never saw his penis. You don't see men's private parts down there on movies or on TV. That would be X-rated. But a woman's entire body can be on camera and exposed for all the world to see, anyone who watches the movie. There is a double standard. But Americans in particular do sexualize everything. And sex and sexualization is taboo in America. If you go to Europe, anywhere in Europe, and many places in the Caribbean, the beaches are everybody's walking around with no top on. Some people are walking around with nothing on at all. And it's not a big deal. Nobody cares. But in America, oh my God, the children, they just saw a boobie, they just saw a nipple, oh my God. They're blind now, oh my God, we're going to hell, they saw a nipple, my child saw a nipple. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with double standards in general. Because if it's okay for a woman to expose her breast in public to feed a child, then it should certainly be okay for me to wear a shirt like this to high school and to go topless at a beach, at any swimming pool. Because breasts are beautiful. They feed people. There's another alternative too. And I don't want to go too long on this subject because I've already been blasted for it on Facebook, for my opinion about it. I don't often praise the Duggars, 19 and counting on, the people who just are addicted to having children. But when they breastfeed in public, and they do, they have this poncho that the mother puts over her. So basically, she's breastfeeding, but nothing is exposed. And you have to remember, these are women who don't even bare their arms or wear bathing suits. So they're not going to whip out a breast in public to feed their children. So there are ways to breastfeed modestly in this sex-scared American world where children aren't allowed to see a boobie unless they're attached to it to eat. So think about what I said. Like I said, I'm not trying to offend anyone who breastfeeds their children. I just think that we need to understand that women who don't breastfeed are not evil. They're not bad parents. And women who don't have children and have awesome breasts should be able to whip them out there too for everybody to enjoy. Political Paula, out.